Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host, Sean and Marc. Here with me, as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
All right. Well, um, we have a lot to talk about here on this edition, as we've both been playing some games. So I've been playing the Lunar Remastered Collection, the first Lunar game. I'm like halfway through that. We got Mark got done with Assassin's Creed Shadows, so he gets to give final thoughts on that. He got finally could talk about the playing the Capcom Fighting Collection, number two. Also, what else you been? And Indiana Jones on PS5.
Yeah.
So yeah, got some stuff on the gaming front. We got the Switch 2 US pre-orders are finally got a date again, and that's going to be on Thursday at midnight or 11 a.m. if you're trying to get it from GameStop. So get ready to be watching the clock, looking at links when it goes live, all that fun stuff that happens when you're trying to get a new console. Um, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Mario Kart Direct. We'll talk about the Galaxy Showcase. We'll talk about the Star Wars uh, strategy game that got revealed as well. They got a big 30-minute deal that Mark will probably go more in depth on. We got what else in here? Has Nintendo lost their identity? Shuhei Yoshida seems to think so, but we'll talk about if they have or not. A lot of that and more. We're going to do that right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so let's go ahead and get this out of the way here. Is the housekeeping for today. And actually, going on at the same time, we didn't try to do this on purpose. So we also got a WrestleMania 41 review with Mr. Harry Broadhurst and Mr. Radlich over there. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can watch it as soon as they're done over there. You can watch live, whatever you want to do. WTM Network there on YouTube. You can also watch us live on Facebook and Twitch, WTM Network. And that's we're usually live between 8:30 and 9 p.m. on Mondays. You can always just watch on demand later or just listen on demand later on your podcast, whichever podcast place you want to listen to, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. Whatever floats your boat, what you like to listen to, go over there. And yeah. Also, again, I think I did, and I'm posting the link last week, but go check out Video Game Outsiders. I was on the show a couple weeks ago. They do awesome stuff. And then on this Friday, I'm going to be on Video Game Happy Hour, which Crafty, who was like commenting on the show last week, they do a great show. Usually do it on live on Twitch, and then it's on podcast. Him and a few other guys that were previously in the Video Game Outsiders like Discord, they had their own show actually on their app, and then they kind of took it off and did their own thing. So I'm going to be on Friday talking about Claire Obscure and whatever else has been going on, our Switch pre-orders. So Mark, are you going to try to pre-order the Switch now that we know it's not going to be on Amazon, at least for the first try here?
Yeah, probably. Just because it'll be like if I don't get it now, it's gonna go from price. And
I think the one store I'm not going to be going, I'm probably going to avoid Target because I've heard that and I've had them do it to me. They canceled a pre-order that I did at one point. I've heard a lot of horror stories about Target canceling pre-orders for other things. So
that's happened with me
yeah.
with Best Buy, but
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with Walmart because that's who I did the pre-order with last time.
Yeah. The problem with those is you have to like basically buy it though.
Yeah.
Then and there, or at least have the money in your account.
Walmart, I think, did that like check where it does the pending and then it goes away. Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm GameStop. I'm gonna try. If I don't get it with Walmart, I'll try with GameStop in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. But let's go ahead and get into the video games first. The games we've been playing here. I guess what is your final thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows? How much long? You were in like what, chapter 3 when we
No,
finished?
I guess that was
1,
in
2?
Act 3. Like, I
Okay,
guess
Act
they
3.
mixed.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really have like specific chapters per se. I mean, they claim they do, but they don't.
Right.
I mean, I showed you those pictures of those sphere, those circle things. Like,
Yes.
that's a lot. uh, I like the game overall. Now that I'm kind of done with it, like, I don't have much else to do. Like, I guess I could go capture some more castles or something, but like, you're not really getting. It's not like territorial control, which is kind of what I would want. Like, it's amazing that San Andreas had better territorial control missions or like a system than the last 8 Assassin's Creed games. uh, but yeah, I liked it. It has zero story in the present.
Oh, 0. Okay. So
Like,
none of the
5 minutes in like the intro of these two like AI programs talking to each other, and then you occasionally find like what they call like corrupted data clusters or something, and it's just like emails or it's just like notes between characters or just almost like newspaper clippings or something like that. But you can't even access it in the main game. Like, you have to like bounce to the main menu and then like go to this like secret menu, and that's where you see it. And it's like, why can't you see this stuff normally? Like, would that be a problem? Or, but
That's weird. They didn't want to dedicate like any resources really to that, I guess.
yeah, the game has some UI funkiness. Like, they added you get a lot of gear in the game. And they had a big patch like a few weeks ago, and they finally added the ability to like mark and delete crap. Like, basically mark it as junk and then sell it. And like within a week they had to remove the function because it was like crashing the game. Because like people were like selling 50 swords at a time and the game was not meant for that.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's still not back in. Like, people want it, but it's like, yeah, because you're getting like purple and blue swords that you're never going to use again or never use at all. But
Man.
I like the game overall. I mean, it's probably
What
my
is it?
game of the year so far.
We forgot to talk about it last week, but did you see that with all the crap that's been hurled their way,
Yeah,
their number 2 best-selling game of the year so
that's
far
not
through like
yeah, it's really
first month?
that's really not surprising. I mean, what else do they got going on? Star Wars or some
What?
Rabbids game or
No. I'm talking about for the entire year this year so far. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the number 2 behind
Oh,
Monster Hunter Wilds, the number 2
that's
game.
I would say that's still not surprising. Yeah, like, I mean, it's early in the year though, so wait until Madden comes out, wait until FIFA, whatever the hell they calling it, and wait until Call of Duty. But yeah, I can see it being like a top 10 game of the year as far as like sales go. Sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one thing I think people need to look at it with a caveat is Crafty and I were kind of getting into a discussion over it on his Discord about how it's like they're kind of just grasping at straws and blah blah blah. And I was like, listen, it doesn't matter if at 6 months from now it's no longer number 2.
Right.
Yes, they're not going around talking about it like Capcom has with Monster Hunter Wilds,
Yeah.
but Assassin's Creed is a huge franchise. When you already have a game like Monster Hunter Wilds coming out and just decimating everything, you getting 2 million sales is really not something to go boasting about, I would say.
Right.
Like, I guess that's why they're going around saying they have 2 million players, because maybe they don't have even 2 million sales. I would imagine if they'd already sold, like Assassin's Creed getting 1 million sales in week 1 is not a big deal for Ubisoft,
I mean,
Um,
I mean, it kind of is though now because they're a lot of their games don't get big sales. Like, and that franchise has been pretty hit or miss over the past few games as well. So It's the
Yeah,
same thing about like I look at it as almost like the same thing about TV ratings, like or like box office returns. Like Sinners just got 60 million, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's great." But it's like, well, it cost over 80, and it had a big marketing budget behind it. I mean, it'll make its money
hmm,
back for
that's true.
sure, but it'll take a while. Like,
Yeah, I'm
and
pretty. We'll definitely probably make us money back by the time it gets out of theaters. I'm sure,
I think it's
but
just a problem of also like it's a you know too many options.
yeah, I mean, Minecraft movie is still out there getting a
Right.
bunch of money. So,
Yep.
and we'll talk about Minecraft movie later, but you know, this it kind of it proves again, like, look, it's good that we have options, right? But when you have like something that's a behemoth that kind of got this groundswell of support too, doesn't help when you people show videos of the scene inside theaters and people are doing crazy stuff and they're like, I kind of want to be a part of that. You know, it's probably not going to happen in my theater now, but I want to go see the movie now.
Right.
It's also like increase the maybe not sales because like who doesn't have Minecraft at this point, but at least like people playing the game like 35%. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
I can buy it for sure.
um, it's just one of these like yeah, look, it's great. I think it's great for Assassin's Creed. It's still like the number two was the number two fastest selling or most
Yeah.
pre-ordered uh Assassin's Creed. So, and they have a long history of games with some, great sales on that for them to have those numbers. Yes, everybody wants those hard sales numbers, but honestly, the way Ubisoft is going right now, they don't really need to rush it. Like they have a quarterly thing that they got to go talk at, and why not just say it there when you have the most up to date numbers possible? To just be like,
Right.
yeah, we sold this much Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's the only game that we have going on right now besides DLC that they announced for Star Wars Outlaws, and whenever Outlaws comes out for
It's
Switch
like
2
September.
and
Yeah.
and all that. So like this is their main game, the main game that they've been like making sure is the one that sells or
Right.
does well for them. I don't know if this is going to be the determinant whether or not they finally go through with that side company or whatever. But obviously it does help because this was like their last hurrah as far as like if this doesn't do well,
Right.
we definitely got to go shed that Ubisoft name and start somewhere, start new. So,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I'm glad you liked it.
Yep.
You know, do you have like a ranking of where it lands for you as far as Assassin's Creed or?
I'd say probably pretty high. Probably like Brotherhood, AC4, Valhalla are better. Maybe even AC2, but it's better than like Mirage. I'd say it's better than Origin and Odyssey. Better than three. What isn't? You know. So I'd say I'm pretty positive on it, but it still has some issues.
Right.
So we'll see. And it's they'll keep working on it probably because what else they got going on? And I know they have like DLC coming down the pipeline. So
Yeah, for sure. We know that's coming.
yeah,
So how goes the Indiana Jones
good.
on PlayStation 5?
I got it a few days ago from Jens. I've been playing it pretty a lot, or like I'm up to the third area. This like Siberia or Himalayas
Wow, so
maybe.
you're already through the Vatican, already
Oh yeah,
through like
the
was it
desert. Yeah,
Egypt? Yeah.
Giza. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Uh,
now you're wow.
I'm not like 100% in those areas.
Okay,
Because
that's the next thing I was gonna ask you. Is like, are you doing like the main like
I'm
mission
doing
thing, and then
I'm doing what I find. Uh,
okay,
I'm doing a fair amount of side missions, and like I finally did one of the missions where it's like I'll collect all these ancient relics in Giza, and I had a map for that at least. So I was like, okay, I can do this. But I'm finding myself very so there's experience points and money, and experience points you can find or buy books, and they give you like basically a talent like, oh, now your whip can disarm guys, or now you punch harder. I have a fair amount of skill points in the game. It's not like you get like one skill point. It's like, oh, to punch harder, you got to spend 500 points on this thing. It's like, that's no problem. Like, and you get points from like, doing quests, photographing stuff, doing side quests, crap like that. I don't have a ton of cash in the game though. That's where it's kind of breaking for me. Some is like, oh, to like in the Vatican, it's like, oh, you can buy this book or buy this map that here are all the medicine bottles to find. It's like, yo, that's 800, or that's $600. I got like 400, or and you don't find a ton of money in the game. At least I haven't yet. So that's been slowing me down some. I like it. I don't think it's 100%. I like it, but it's not 100% clicking with me necessarily. Like, you've played it, right?
Yeah. I didn't get past Egypt, but yeah, sure.
I find the game kind of janky in spots. Like, I was stuck in a enemy base in Egypt, and it's just like big base with a big fence around it. So it's like, okay, I don't want to run to the entrance because I don't have like my correct suit or disguise. So they know who I am, and they're just gonna like shoot at me or fight me.
Right.
So it's like, okay, how can I do this? Can I like hop on there are like little buildings like dotting the inside of the fence. So I'm like, can I hop in a building, get to the roof, and just jump over the fence? And it's like, you'd think you could do that, but you can't. I spent a half hour trying to do this.
Right. It wants you to do it with a disguise and all that stuff.
Yeah, it has a very specific points that it feels almost very restricting in a sense because they clearly want you to do this, and it's like, yo, why should I? Like
The freedom comes more in the combat. Like, you don't have to use a gun, right? Like, you can just
well, I
do everything with
basically
your
haven't,
fists.
except for so like the first time I actually tried it, I used my gun like once, and I alerted the whole damn base, and I basically like had to hide real quick and wait till they all went back to. But there's an early boss fight, like right after in the Vatican, where you fight this big Tony Todd, the guy, giant guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I got a gun. I've been collecting bullets. Like I got like 18 shots. Let's pull this gun out and shoot this guy. No. Like Andy just like reloads the gun. You're just supposed to like fight him normally. I'm like, why? Like, I have a gun. Like what? They should have just like had the scene where like the Tony Todd like knocked your gun away so you don't have it at all, as opposed to me pulling the gun out and then me just like uselessly reloading it, for 10 minutes.
Realizing that it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, couldn't you just like, I program in like a slightly better logical reason for not having the gun, but yeah, combat's fun. I also wish there might be a skill point later on or skill thing. Like, melee weapons in the game are incredibly brittle. Like most stuff only has 3 durability points. And if you do a stealth takedown, it takes up all 3. And the larger weapons, like the larger items, have 6. So it's like, oh, you can do two stealth takedowns and that's it. It's like, that's not a lot. Like,
not to be fair, they do give you like a lot of different things that are weapons.
Yeah, but I'd rather they just have it like, Indiana just finds like a blackjack or finds like some metal baseball bat that's somehow indestructible and he just carries that with him constantly.
I'm surprised they didn't do the typical, weapon wheel.
Yeah,
thing.
But and I almost like never used a whip. I forget it. I have it most of the time.
Yeah,
but I like it. It runs fine. What do you expect? Good acting. I like the. I mean, you played it enough of it. I like the priest in the first part of the game, the Vatican, Antonio. I like that actor, so I'm like, I recognize that dude. And it's like, oh yeah, that is him. Yeah, good game. Or I don't know if I'll finish it by next week, but I'll probably keep playing it, and I'll play it right after the end of this.
All right. Well, I'm glad you've been enjoying. I was wondering if you were gonna get to play it, and then what you would think
Yeah,
on that.
I mean, it reminds me of like Deus Ex kind of, and then also Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay.
That Chronicle, I got vibes for Chronicles of Britics playing
I
it
can't
too.
wait until
Yeah.
Indy gets his own eye shine job.
Well, let's see if the anticipation and you playing it, others playing on a PS5 leads to the sales that Microsoft wants.
Yeah,
Um, and then they've got Forza Horizon coming on Friday as well. So
yep.
they got a double
I'd
dose there for PlayStation.
I'd like to play that, but I'm not gonna. They'd be like my third time buying that game, so no, thank you.
Well, you have it on Steam?
I
Or
have it on Steam, and I also have it on Xbox, like PC or like Windows
oh,
PC.
okay. The
'Cause I
Windows
bought that one.
PC thing, right?
I bought it first on there because it wasn't on Steam, and then it came to Steam finally. So I'm all right. God damn it.
You don't think Jens might buy it since he doesn't have
I don't
Game
know.
Pass?
He
No.
doesn't like racing games at all.
Oh, okay.
So
There's one racing game to definitely go play. Forza Horizon 5.
yeah.
That's the one. Well, speaking of fighting things, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, how is it?
So it has 8 games in it. I don't think I can talk about 2 of them. I don't think I can talk about Power Stone and Capcom Fighting Evolution. So I can talk about the other 6. That game is weird. So it has Power Stone 2, 2 Capcom versus SNK games, which I'm not a huge SNK fan personally. So that kind of means nothing to me. Plasma
Right.
Swords I never played either. And then it has Project Justice and Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper. And
Okay.
those where I'm spending most of my time, and those where I'm having issues. So Power Stone is a great fighting game. But, and this is the problem with Alpha 3 as well, they didn't include the right version. Because these are all like the arcade version of these games. And at least they have a training mode, kind of, where it's just like a dummy or just testing how to your combos out and stuff. But like some of these games need kind of an introduction or need more of like a tutorial, like Project Justice, because it has some really weird esoteric shit going on, like with the character swapping or character tagging in, or you stepping in and out of the stage because it's a 3D game nominally, but it's more or less 2D. And then Power Stone 2, I mean, sorry, not Power Stone 2, Project Justice has like the most bewildering story mode in a fighting game
Yes,
ever,
it does.
where it's like
Oh god, I remember that game.
you can like pick a school, and that's like your team. So it's like, oh, Pacific High is like Tiffany, Roy, and bald dude. I forget his name. It starts with a
Yeah.
B, I think. But it's like, oh, if you just progress through the story, uh, you can get one ending. But it's like, oh, if you lose on like match 3, it splits
Hmm.
off in like this other ending, and you face like other characters or stuff like that. So looking at the achievements for this thing, it's like, oh, get Project Justice High School second ending, and it gives you thankfully it gives you a little hint like, oh, do 2 team up attacks and stage 2 or something, because if it didn't, you'd be screwed entirely. But that's a problem. Like it's just like weird. Some of these games I never even saw them in an arcade, let alone played any of them. So some help would have been nice. And then the 2 other issues of Project Justice specifically are it doesn't have rival schools, which I'm going to continue to bang on about because it should. And then
I wonder if they're leaving it for a potential Fighting Collection 3 or something.
they shouldn't. Like they should ditch. I mean, this is basically the Dreamcast version, like Dreamcast collection of fighting games, because all this crap, was like a Dreamcast or Naomi hardware.
Right.
But who gives a fuck about Plasma Sword? Like, ditch it and put in rival schools. And hey, it's gonna look like ass because it's a 1998 arcade PS1 game, but who cares? I'd rather
Do
have
you
that.
think it's like a licensing thing as far as why they didn't do the console versions, or?
No, I think it's strictly like they have an emulator that can run Dreamcast or run Naomi hardware, and these are the files they have. Like building in something extra would take more work. And that's the other. Well, the two main problems is Project Justice when it came out in Dreamcast, specifically the Japanese version. It had this really cool board game where you could like create your own character and like power them up through this like board. It's almost like Mario Party, or but good.
Right.
And they didn't bring it to America because it would have cost. It was it was a bunch of Japanese, so they would have like had to translate it and stuff. That's gotten easier in the past 25 years. I mean, I wouldn't say do it. Have some machine AI translate it, but it's not hard to translate stuff anymore, guys. Like you could bring it over. It ain't hard.
Yeah.
So I would have rather had that version, or had that as like an extra. The real problem though is Alpha 3. They have just the arcade version of Alpha 3. And it's like, yo, there have been a lot of other better versions of Alpha 3 out there, like the PS1 version.
I had the
Or the
Dreamcast version of Alpha 3.
Yeah, the Dreamcast, or even, I mean, hell, they put in an XBLA version of Alpha 3. Like Iron Galaxy did it, I think.
Yeah.
Have those versions as well. And it's like, if you don't want to, I can understand, then I don't want to do like network code for all that crap. Like, I completely understand it. If you just want to have Alpha 3 upper, have the like be the network or the online version, that's fine. But like, especially the PS1 version of Alpha 3 had a bunch of really cool stuff in it, like a world tour mode, an edit mode, other like hidden characters, unlockable characters, stuff like that. And this is like the most like bare bones Alpha 3 you could get. And it's like, oh, it's like the latest arcade revision or whatever from 18 years ago or something. But it doesn't have Evil Ryu in it, I don't think, or it doesn't have a lot of other crap from like the PS1 version.
So
And it
would you
also,
say? Sorry.
go on.
Well, would you say that it's priced at $40? Would you say it's still worth getting, even though it doesn't have? It only
I
has
mean,
the arcade version.
I would say Project Justice is kind of worth it alone. And while I can't specifically talk about Power Stone 1, Power Stone 1 and 2 hold up, more or less. So it's worth it for that. And if you like Alpha 3, or if you're a big SNK fan, absolutely. Because those are the poor bastards who've been waiting for decades for a new game.
Is there anything new added to anything?
They have like the
Games
soundtrack thing, and they have galleries for all the games, so you can get that high res Tiffany art you even wanting, or that everyone really wants. Alpha 3 though has like, so each game has like its own little medal system or own little trophy system. So it's like, oh, you beat the game with Ryu, or you beat the game with whatever. Alpha 3 has a survival mode and a dramatic battle mode and a final battle mode. And I think the final battle mode is just like fighting like the end boss, like just that's it, like it's one and done.
Yeah.
And thank God the button commands are in the game, because I had like no idea about any of this crap, because like I just played the PS1 version, and the PS1 version just had like an option for dramatic battle mode. It's like, no, you gotta like hold start and then press both kick buttons at the right time, and then you'll enter dramatic battle mode. And I'm like, why couldn't they just make this like an option?
Like, I'm guessing you're playing on PS5.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, doing this like weird hidden crap, like this isn't like fun. And for like the other games, the other fighting collections, like the Marvel one. It's like that had some hidden stuff. Like Marvel vs. Capcom 1 had like hidden characters and shit. But like I think they made it easier to like find that stuff. You just like
Right.
there's like an option in the menu to like make it easier. This doesn't have that really. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna be hunting around for some of this stuff, and it's a bummer. If this game had like rival schools and Project Justice, and they translated rival schools correctly, it would be awesome. This would, I would heartily recommend it. But like, it's all right, but I think it's like way more niche than even their past collections have been.
Right.
Like imagine if they put out like a collect or just like Street Fighter 2
Which they
as like
did. Didn't they do like a Street Fighter collection, anniversary collection thing? Or
well, I no, yeah, but if they just included like the basic Street Fighter 2, like
right.
just the 8 characters, not Turbo, not Super Street Fighter, not Hyper Fight. There's been like 9 different versions of Street Fighter 2 out there. Like,
Right.
no, this is just Street Fighter 2. You can't even play as like the new Warriors. It's just the first 8. Here you go.
That's crazy.
All right, I guess, but there are other better versions of this thing out there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule out that Capcom might do like DLC.
I would.
But
I think these are pretty much like one and done.
yeah.
I think it'll be,
I-
I think like you said, it'll be like Capcom Fighting Collection 3, and it'll have like rival schools and like the really weird shit, like if they can dig up another Darkstalkers game or Techromancer. I didn't think they did that, but it's like the really weird stuff.
yeah.
Oh yeah, they did do Techromancer.
In
I
the
don't know.
first one, I think, right?
Okay. Uh, but yeah, it's just it would have been nice if they had a few other editions of the thing, certain games.
I think it's also because in the first one also only had the arcade
Yeah, but like I said,
version.
like the first collection, most of those games didn't have any arcade or didn't have home ports or
Right, because they're all from like the
expanded
early
home ports.
90s.
Like it'd be like if Namco somehow made like a Soul Calibur collection, and they just included every version of the old arcade Soul Calibur games, and it's like,
Right.
no, this thing would be bad because like Soul Calibur in the Dreamcast was a much better game than Soul Calibur in the arcade, or you wouldn't get like the Soul Calibur 2, Link or Spawn or anything like that.
Yeah, fair
But
enough.
that's just my take. I mean, I got another month to review it, so
There you go. When is the game coming out? Like in May?
May 16th, I think.
Wow. That's a
Yeah, they got it out to
long.
us, and I've had the game for like 2 weeks too. So
You would like, do they want you to play through? And they have games they don't want you to talk about. So it's like, okay, so I don't even see the point of.
well,
So like you can, so the embargo's up for you to review it, or you have to
no,
wait till May to.
just to preview it, yeah, and
Oh, okay,
then
just to preview it. Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
yep,
All right. So I mentioned I might go and get the Lunar collection.
yep,
I did do that. I got it on Switch. So now I have 3 old games that I bought, or well, I bought the Suikoden collection on Switch. I bought Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive on Switch, and now I have this
yep,
on Switch as well. So I played like 15 hours of Lunar 1. I never played either one of these games, by the way.
right,
So yeah, it's wonderful JRPG comfort food with a heck of a. I love the old school, like was right back into like 90s anime feel with the whole thing of the cutscenes are just like every time there's a new character. Here we go with a
yeah,
animated FMV thing.
yeah, it's like a 20-second cutscene introducing the character, like the dragon, or yeah,
Well, I loved it. I was like, all right, this is cool. Like it's just they kept that. I love that they kept all that in there. They didn't try to like it's remastered, right? But they also didn't try to spruce it up too much, so it definitely
Well,
still feels like the
I
PS1
know
game, right?
I know the two things they did. It's a new script, like, or
Yeah, new
new
script
translation, and
with voice
all new
acting,
voice. Yeah.
which not everything is voiced, by the way. Also, it's not like
No, no. Yeah.
everything. Yeah, it's only certain scenes, and then obviously the FMVs and
Right.
things like that. But it's still, it looks like a PS1 game. They didn't try to do any of
Right.
that. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. The music's great. The art style was what it was back then, but it's still just your typical JRPG turn-based battle system with
Yep.
a kind of interesting way of the way that they do the attacks. It does have auto battle, and you can speed up the battle, so like X3 or whatever as well, so that helps out. So they're not going.
Yeah. Originally didn't have that, so imagine going through some of this game.
Yeah, because it's real. Like if you try to do it, like it's really slow. And they do have the option for you to, when you go to the menu, it does have the option to play as the classic version as well. Like Mark was mentioning with the Capcom Fighting Collection, it's not like this is the only they have the original versions of the game, both
Right.
games included. So if you want to go back and play it the way it was without some of the remastered stuff, you can do that.
I'd
But
be
yeah,
curious. Uh, I mean, I guess you specifically can't answer this, but like, which version do they consider the original one? Is it, the PS1 version, or is it the Sega CD version?
I guess I can find that out while we're talking about it. But
No, I mean, I imagine it's the PS1 version because, the Sega CD version is a little rougher for sure, but it's cool it's in there. I mean, I'd probably play that one just because, I know it more and I like that voice acting better.
yeah, and it does also have it like in different languages as well. So
Right.
like the only thing that bothered me is that my Joy-Con, my left Joy-Con has drift.
Yep.
So when you go to the beginning of the menu, it always starts out with do you want to choose the original version, the remastered version of which game you want to start out with. And then if you press right or left, it will change the language. So
Yeah.
I've had it start up the Japanese version like 3 or 4 times, and then I have to exit out of it and turn it back on and do it again. And I'm just like, damn it, stupid. Um,
Right.
um, okay, it is the Sega CD version. It looks like
Okay.
so, but yeah, look, I think if you're a JRPG historian person that loves playing old RPGs or just loves having them, right? I think this is perfect. It's 50, it's not 60 or 70 also, so there is the price cut there, and it's two pretty good games that it seems like from the 17 hours or so I put in of Lunar 1, these aren't very long games.
Right.
So, uh,
Uh how many characters do you have in Lunar One? Let me ask you that. Like, have you got the mage guy, or
so
uh
I've gotten all the way to the part where you have to go back to your hometown with one of the hero people.
yeah.
I'm trying not to spoil it for people that want to play through it. I've met like there's characters that will show up and then they don't show up again.
Right.
At least for I've never seen them again, right? But I've got the fight with like a 3 or 4 different characters. I've met the mage guy, right?
Yeah.
The Nash.
Yep.
Um, and then obviously Luna, Ramos, and Alex are the main 3, but then Ramos doesn't stay in your party very
Yeah.
long,
He only stays there for like 2 hours,
which
and
is fine because he's not great.
right.
And yeah, so like I have the mage guy, but then he left again because he has to take care of somebody. Again, try
He
not to
comes
spoil.
back. Yeah.
I imagine so. Was how much they have him talking there. I imagine Jessica also comes back, the white mage.
Yep.
And then you have I have Galleon in my party right now, and he's supposed to be a hero, so he's just whooping everybody. And then so I've gotten to that part where we're trying to get to the meet the dragon again, or whatever,
Right.
and that's where I'm at. So the whole story is that Alex is trying to become the dragon master. You have to read the 4 dragons.
Yep.
And I think it's cool that the way it started with you're essentially meeting a dragon at the beginning of the game. And then they kind of it gives you this good, cool feeling of the scale of it's here's the dragon. Your screen's going up and you're seeing him. And I love the writing in the game too. The story has some really funny moments. Even with the dragon at the beginning, he's like, do you realize that this diamond that you try to find is just my shit? And they literally says that. They did edit out some stuff. There's some things that have been changed out, which people are upset about, whatever. It's listen, people, you gotta remember when these games were made. Translation is different back then. Worse translations back then than today. And also, come on. Do we really need to have the R word in a game in 2025? We don't. Okay. You can get mad about the fact that it's not in there, but should have been in there from the beginning. So you can get mad, but let's be honest. It's not censoring. It's just making it so, all kinds of people all families and stuff can play this game if they want. It's not why would that's stupid to have a game that's just coming out and you're feeling like you got to censor it from kids or whatever. So just wanted to make a point about that. But been enjoying it. Let me see if I get any further. I'm gonna try to see if I can play some more before I get to the 24th, and then I won't play anything but Clair Obscure. So we'll see. We'll get there. But yeah, that's it for the games. We talked about games on this episode. So all right, let's go ahead and talk about some Nintendo Switch 2 stuff. Did you watch this Mario Kart World Direct thing?
No, because I'm just not into it. Or
let's be honest, folks. I don't really know that I saw anything that tells me this game needs to be $80. But whatever, it is what Nintendo is charging for that game. So, what can we do about it?
Right.
I still don't know that the free roam thing is this amazing thing that they keep talking about. I guess I'll see when we get to the actual game how free roaming it actually is. I do think it's cool that you're going to have a 4-player split screen with the single Switch 2 console, and you could do local wireless up to 8 players. And then eventually, obviously, you can do the 24 players online, which that's obviously a leap for this console to do. They do have new moves in the charge jump where you can jump over stuff and jump on the grind rails, which they showed in the first trailer. You can get the outfits for the different characters instead of getting weapons or whatever, you might get an outfit. A lot of the new circuits look cool, right?
Sure.
So there's that. It's Mario Kart. So look, if you haven't, like me, I didn't get the new when they dropped those courses or whatever. I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that DLC. So I'm not Mario Karted out, but I wonder if there's people that have been playing that game like nonstop, or they've been playing it a lot. Maybe seeing Mario Kart now is not that exciting to you because you've been literally seeing Mario Kart constantly. So it does look, I think it's one of those I'm gonna really have to see it on my TV for me to be excited, I guess. Because I'm not really getting to see much of what makes this awesome right now, just watching a compressed YouTube video. So I wonder if Nintendo will eventually, once they get past the launch games and maybe they get more games that are 4K, I wonder if they will start releasing 4K versions on YouTube or whatever. That would be kind of interesting to see if they start doing that. But look,
Keep dreaming.
there's other Nintendo stuff that's I think a bit more important that you either watched that Mario Kart thing or you didn't, and Mario Kart is Mario Kart, right? I'm gonna get that game because it's something I can play with my daughter, and especially now that we know we can use the old Switch Pro controllers, I can just hook up both the Joy Cons into the grip, and I can use the Pro controller, and then we can both play, and that'll be fun. Like I'll be excited to play that with her, but I will be much more excited about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond or Pokemon or some other game that comes with that. But speaking of Switch 2, we know that we're going to have the pre-orders again set for April 24th. So I guess everything just happening. We have the FBC Firebreak showcase on the 24th. We have the Clair Obscure coming on the 24th. And we have the Switch 2 pre-orders coming on the 24th. I'm sure there will be something else announced on the 24th as well before we get through this week.
Right.
But so as of now, I think it's Target and Walmart have both announced at midnight on the 24th there will be pre-orders. Best Buy technically has not announced that they're doing midnight. They are doing midnight release, so if you do pre-order, you can go on release night, and GameStop is also doing it. You can go at 12:01 and go get your console in person. GameStop is doing 11. I wonder why GameStop chose to make you wait till 11 a.m. Eastern.
Because that's when the stores open.
Yeah.
And they probably want people to come in the store more than.
Sure. Yeah, they did say you can go in person as well as online to reserve. So if you're like I still think that like if you can go in person and reserve, that's smart because you can do the paying piecemeal thing. You don't have to. You just put the certain amount down, which usually is $50 for the console, and then you can pay however you want before you get to June. So even though you're not going to have as big a window as you would have had if they would have gone on the 9th, but still, at least they're giving you a little bit of window. It is going to stay the same price. So I've now decided I'm just going to get the standalone console because I'm pretty sure the Mario Kart World bundle will be scalped to hell.
Right.
And I really don't at this point, like, I think I actually have $30 on my Switch on my regulars on the Nintendo account.
Yeah.
After I bought Lunar, I think I realized I had like 25. So I'm just gonna buy the game digitally when I get the Switch 2 or whatever.
Sure.
The bad thing is this is where the price increases have come in already. Now, to be fair, I will point out that they said, I think like 3 times in this announcement that at launch it will cost this amount, $449 and $499. They did not rule out that at any point after the launch they will raise the price.
Right.
And according to a source within so a Video Game Outsiders also has in their app, they have a guy that owns his own game store. And he's owned it in like I think it's the Cincinnati, Ohio area. He's owned it for like I think 20 years. And he said, according to a source, that apparently Sony is not going to be alone in raising the price of their console. Microsoft will also be raising the price of the Xbox.
Yeah.
So even though Microsoft could eat Microsoft has more money to eat.
But you don't need to buy the console. Xbox is anything.
That's the thing I don't understand is like if people are not really buying your console that much, do you really need to raise the price on it? But it is what it is with Microsoft. But so I would say that the thing where it's going to hit you the most is the accessories now. So if you don't have any original Switch accessories that you have around because you wanted to trade in everything that you have to get a Switch 2 or at least get cash to be able to pay for your Switch 2, The Pro Controller is now $85 instead of 80. The Switch 2 dock is 120 instead of now. Honestly, this is really just like privilege. Like if you really need another Switch 2 dock, I don't know why you. And I guess if you have two houses and you need to have, or you have two rooms and all you want to have to do is be able to put the Switch down in one and then take the Switch out and not have to remove the dock. I guess whatever. But yeah, that's $120 instead of $110. The Joy-Cons are now $90.
Yep.
So basically, good Lord. No, not 90, $95. Excuse me. Yeah, ridiculous. Almost basically with tax, it's $100 for if you want any extra Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Nothing says family console like that.
The Joy-Con 2 wheel set costs $25. Basically, everything went up $5 essentially. The camera now costs $55. Jeez. Yeah. So just get ready. Just get ready. If you are one of those people that are just getting rid of all your Switch 1 accessories, you're gonna be paying a bunch of money. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do that. See how much you can just get for just the Switch and like a few things. Keep some of your other things because dang, man, the price on this thing is gonna go quick. As far as accessories go. And maybe that means that more accessories will be available. Because I don't think the scalpers are gonna go nuts for this stuff when they know people aren't gonna buy it, but yeah, we'll see. Also, thanks to a third-party publisher, we now have confirmation completely of what these Switch 2 edition key cards are going to be. So, according to Marvelous, who's doing the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, the Switch 2 edition is going to be a red. Remember, the Switch 2 editions and the key cards will have the red on top of it.
Yeah, right.
Instead of the regular, right? This is going to have a 64 gigabyte game card that includes in full the Nintendo Switch game and the upgrade pack. There is no need to download the full game. Simply insert the card into either a Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 console, and the correct version will launch automatically. So it will be like the series, the smart delivery thing,
right?
For Xbox. You don't have to download anything; it will play off the cart. And it will know automatically what system it's in. So that's cool. Does that make you want to buy more physical stuff for Switch 2 now? If knowing that these things have like a smart chip in them or what?
Like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is jam my flash cartridge in the Switch 2 and see what happens.
Hope it doesn't like break your.
That'll like activate that'll activate like the orbital targeting, and the missile just drop in my house or something.
It's like, we found out you put in the splash cart. You're going to jail right now.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, look, that's cool. I'm very happy for the people that love to buy stuff physically. That it means that your cart will work as intended. You don't have to download something off of the. Now, look, and not all of them are going to work like that. I'm pretty sure that Call of Duty, whenever it does show up on Switch, is not going to have the whole thing on the cart.
Right.
I'd be very surprised if Final Fantasy VII Remake, especially maybe not Remake, but especially Rebirth, whenever it shows up, it will not be all on the cart. I'll tell you that right now. So just get ready. You will download stuff, but that's cool that this does work like it's supposed to. Just really quick, because we have something that ties into Doug Bowser here. Doug Bowser answers a question over the concern of no Mario at launch. He just says that, look, we have a long catalog, a long list of IP. I'm sure it will make its way to the platform. It's coming. We know it's coming. I wouldn't be surprised if the June direct ends with Mario. Now that all those launch games or launch window games will have launched at that point, for the most part. He does say that he pretty much expects that pretty much most Nintendo IP will come over to Switch 2.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Right.
How long do you think for sure it's coming before we get out of this year?
No. But early next year.
Think so?
Yeah. Because they got that hot new Donkey Kong and Kirby game this year. So
Well, Donkey Kong is like what, June?
yeah. And
And
Kirby's around the same time. I mean,
did they announce a release date for Air Rides or whatever? Or they
thought
just
it was a
announced
launch
that he was
game.
working? No, Air Rides is not a launch game because they didn't even give a
Oh.
release date for that thing. The launch game is the what is it? Forgotten Worlds with the DLC.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I mean, they don't have. I think Pokemon might be the only like fall game, and then that's it because Metroid's coming like pretty quick after
Right.
Switch 2 launches. So I'm still gonna go with the bet that Mario is November. That's the fall game for Switch 2.
No, it'll just be like Odyssey. Like here's one more level, or like
Yeah,
here's
like here's a Switch
here,
2 edition of Mario Odyssey.
it'll be like here's Mario GPS coordinating, or like doing that dumb Legend of Zelda crap.
That would be very disappointing if it was.
Yeah.
But that the thought is that who's working on it, because supposedly the Odyssey team is the one working on Donkey Kong Bonanza, even though we don't know officially because Nintendo doesn't like to reveal who's working on the games.
Right.
But the thought is that for sure it is the Odyssey team working on Bonanza. So do they have another new team working on this Mario game, or is it like they split the teams off or something? That would be interesting to know. So there was a comment done by Shuhei Yoshida. Now that he's no longer with Sony, he can talk
Right.
a lot more.
That helps.
He mentioned that he feels Nintendo has lost their identity because they are essentially they're doing a Switch 2. Like that's not what Nintendo does, right? They like to innovate.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Go on.
No, I mean, what do you think he's right, or?
Yeah. Like think about the only time they because I heard Jeff Gerstmann talking about this like last week. He was like talking about like it seems like the Super Nintendo was just like a better Nintendo like back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, that's a very iterative, that's a very noticeable step up in quality, going from 8-bit to 16-bit,
right?
And them adding 4 more buttons on the controller, and I think the name is bad, like the Switch 2. They should have called it like the Super Switch, or give it some kind of fun name.
Also, should have mentioned they brought Paul Rudd back from the Super Nintendo.
That was good. Yeah.
To do that. Yeah.
I should have got Jenny Lewis from the Wizard movie as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I mean, the price, all the business stuff doesn't help. But yeah, it's just like you just know the thing, and if you did like a cursory look at it, it's like this looks like the same one I just had. I mean, I guess it's bigger, but like, and then them going like, hey, it'll run Cyberpunk or it'll run Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's like,
which
great.
They've officially announced that Cyberpunk is using DLSS.
Yeah.
So we know it is, even though Nvidia has said it, Nintendo hasn't officially said those words.
Right.
But Cyberpunk has revealed that they are using it, even though we all knew about it at this point. But like that's the funny thing is they said they didn't want to call it the Super Nintendo Switch. They didn't want to call it the Super Switch because they didn't want people to think that it was just a upgrade from.
But I would rather it be called a Super Switch or like the Hyper Switch or some nickname or something than here's the Switch 2, and hey, in 7 years we'll get the Switch 3 maybe, and that'll have the raccoon suit, or
I can see their reasoning with that is because they're so scared to have another Wii U moment.
Right.
Like
that was less of a like I mean, the problem with the Wii U, aside from a lot of other things, is like, yeah, it just felt like an add-on, or that they didn't position it correctly. But people already know what the Switch 2 is going to be, so why not give it like a cool sounding name or something unique? Then here's this black console or black tablet with these black Joy-Cons and no fun allowed printed on the box somewhere. Like,
oh, another thing I forgot to mention, the amiibo for Street Fighter.
Yeah,
those things went up to like $40.
Yep.
Jeez.
Another good reason to have that the amiibo puck thing, the power save puck that I got, where you can just program it to be any amiibo.
At first, I was kind of surprised that they actually made the amiibo, like that thing is going to actually work with amiibo. I thought that they, the rumors were at the beginning that they didn't have the NFC technology or whatever in it.
Right.
But that's cool that they have brought that back. Yeah.
But for what reason? Like, only so few games use
because they want to sell. They want to sell amiibo to you.
Yeah, but they don't do. I mean, it's even less than like Skylanders or Disney. Like, even like the Nintendo games that use amiibos, like use them so badly. Like, no wonder people. I mean, if you were smart, should have got the thing I got, that weird bootsy power disc thing, so you can just save any amiibo to it.
Yeah,
because they're so bad. It's like, I'm not gonna give you. If the amiibo is even like somewhat posable, maybe, but it's just like a figure. It's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. You're right about that, but like people buy them just to have a collection of like, okay, Nintendo made these things and I want to have them all, and
they are the kings of making you gotta catch them all. So
I had the Pikachu one somewhere. That's only one.
I mean, I have like 3 or 4 of them, and it pissed me off. I actually spent like $70 on one, and then like a month later they re-released it. So fuck you.
I thought about that for the Xenoblade 2 ones.
Mine was the Persona 5 one, the Joker one.
Oh, okay, yeah. But so you ended up paying like $70 for that thing, and then they re-released it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So I should have mentioned that this was when Shuhei was on Easy Allies, he did the actual like reaction stream with the MinMax folks. Then he went on Easy Allies to do kind of like a reaction thing on there. And that's where he said this quote where he says, to me, the Nintendo Switch 2 announcement direct was a mixed message from Nintendo. And I think Nintendo is losing their identity. In my opinion, for me, they are always about creating some new experience, like designing hardware and games together to create something, an amazing new experience. But Switch 2, as we all anticipate, is a better Switch. It's larger screen, more powerful. And because it's a better Switch, this core premise of the whole Switch 2 is we made things better, and that's something other companies have been doing all the time.
I don't know if I completely agree with that last part, but yeah, like, what's new about the Switch 2? What has you excited?
Well, the mouse controls, right? That is kind of innovative. Let's see if anybody comes up with something cool with that.
No one will. I mean, even that basketball game looks bad.
Okay, that looks terrible. But honestly, there's 2 games that are there. One of them was shown at that Galaxy showcase we're going to talk about it a little bit later, and then they just showed it at the Triple I showcase, a rematch. There's two games that already are doing that way better. And then this thing is only dealing with mouse controls, and that's already a recipe for just dumpster fire.
You kind of have a decent gaming laptop, and when you play games on it, do you prefer to play with a mouse and keyboard or a gamepad?
I always play with a controller, but that's because I don't like playing. I'm not used to playing on PC at all. I'm not a WASD
and like okay,
person.
but even like know, I think having a mouse on like a your desk or that's one thing, but like then their high idea like you can use the mouse on your leg, the rooftop party. It's like no one's gonna do this. Are you guys high?
Yeah.
Like
I don't know about in a multiplayer setting. I think maybe Mario Party using it as a gimmick is fine to play some of the games, right? To add some kind of more fun in there. I think Metroid Prime having that as an alternate way to play if you like to do keyboard mouse, which I could see them doing a USB where you could plug in a USB keyboard eventually if you want. But
I mean, if it comes down to that, just release a goddamn game on Steam,
Well, they're not going to do that. So
sell for like $140 or something, and be like, hey, if you want to play Metroid Prime 4 with a keyboard and mouse, here you go. But like the problem with with their version of the mouse also is it has no inherent dead zone.
Right.
And the table or your desk is one thing because it's a solid object that you don't like. But like you taking the mouse, you go into your can you imagine you go into your doctor's office with your Switch 2, sitting in their section area, and then busting out both Joy-Cons for mouse controls for Metroid Prime 4. You realize how stupid you're gonna look?
Well, I mean, no, but hold on. Nobody, unless you're like a kid, nobody's doing that. Like,
you do that. I mean,
no, I'm not. So, okay, I pull out my Switch and I would get made fun of because, different culture here.
Not the mouse part, but yeah,
I'm not gonna pull the mouse part out. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not doing that in a public place. I'm not doing that. And I don't think any outside of the park, if I went to the park for some reason to play my Switch 2, which, that was a big deal with the Switch 1 reveal, I'm not doing that either. I'm just saying at my house, if I wanted to, if it's the way you play the game, whether I'm playing on my TV or I'm playing tabletop or whatever, I'll use it. If the game is good enough, right? I'm not going to play. I might play Metroid Prime that way if I was reviewing it or something just to see what it's like, but I don't play games with mouse and keyboard that much. I'm not a good use case for it. I do know a lot of people that they love playing games on PC. I could see how this is cool. I could see how a strategy game works for that, right? Like I could see how Civ 7, you want to play that with a mouse and keyboard because you're used to that, right? It does open Nintendo up for.
You're not going to play Civ 7 on the Switch 2 on the go. And
you might, but even if you are, at that point you're using controls. I'm not.
And then also what Civ 7 came to PS5 and Xbox. Like,
right.
What do you think the breakdown is of sales for that game between Steam or PC/Steam, PS5 and Xbox?
Well, it's on Switch 1 also. So
okay, I'm still gonna go 95 on PC, 95%, and the other 5% divided up between the other 4 consoles or 3 consoles.
I would say more like maybe 90-10, but Switch is probably way down on the Switch is like a 1%. Like the only people that have that are I only own a Switch 1 and that's it. Like,
And those people aren't Civ fans.
Yeah, I agree. They're not. My thing is he's right in a sense. He's right in a sense that okay, this is not overly innovative.
Now, he's right in like every sense.
But Nintendo does this with their with their 2 consoles, right? Super Nintendo from the NES to the SNES to the 64 to the GameCube, now Switch 1 to Switch 2, DS to 3DS. This is what they do, right? They don't have they are still, even though the Steam Deck is out there and the ROG Ally and all that stuff is still niche compared to the Switch 1. Okay. So until they are no longer the dominant, and that's the problem with that Nintendo has right now, right? Is that they did the smart thing, which I think everybody in the world can agree that the smart thing was we have to combine our handheld market and our console market because it's going to get to the point where people are not going to buy both anymore, right? Unless Nintendo did something like what Sony did with the Portal, right?
Remember when the Switch 1 got announced and they're like, "Oh, the 3DS is still going to be important."
Well, yeah, that's because at that point they don't know that the Switch 1 is going to be amazing or not. But now that it took the world by storm, sold 150 million consoles, they kind of owe it to everybody. They even owe it to themselves to continue that trend, especially when you're trying to, be Disney and have Nintendo World and have Nintendo movies and have all this other stuff. You gotta keep being successful with your console. So I don't, and honestly, like, what else is there to innovate on? What else is there to include in a console at this point?
I actually have a good idea for that. Remember the Samsung Gear VR?
Yeah.
Do something like that.
But the masses don't want VR.
No, but if included, if Nintendo released the Nintendo VR,
thing, right?
Well, I'd have it be more substantial than some piece of shitty cardboard. Like how I'd have it be plastic or be durable. But imagine if it's like, okay, every game has a VR mode, and you can use it how you want. If they want to have special VR options, that's one thing. But if you just want to have it, playing the game with a big ass screen in front of your eyes, 2 inches away from your eyes, go at it.
But then you also have to introduce the VR peripheral, right? To be able to
the what? Sorry.
You have to then announce a separate VR peripheral that is either included with the system or doesn't cost $200, right?
Well, no, you put the Switch into this thing. It's basically like a plastic shroud for the Switch 2, like right in front of your eyes.
Okay.
Like that's what the Gear VR was basically. It's just like, here's this plastic thing you slide your phone into.
But you would think that Sony would have done that.
But Sony doesn't have it. Sony doesn't have a handheld device. I mean,
right, but you would think that Sony's next thing would be they're not thinking about tying VR to the PlayStation 6, right? If anything, they're thinking about tying a handheld again, which they stopped doing.
Well, that's because Sony, you need the PS5, the PSVR is basically like a view screens, and it needs all the processing power from the PS5 to make it work. The Switch, the screen literally is the processing power. So, yeah, it's a lot easier, and you just use the Joy-Cons and play games that way.
I just think that that's a cool novelty. I don't know where that gaming is ever going to become. We can want the Ready Player One thing all we want, but I don't think it's going to ever become that. If it was, there'd be way more people buying into VR. Maybe it's bigger than it was when the PSVR 1 came out, and I understand MetaQuest with that wireless, with the MetaQuest 3 that they're on now is selling decently, even though they've taken hits recently because they haven't been selling like they were. I think that's a good idea in theory. I just don't, beyond that, Like what else? That's the problem that all the other consoles have right now. Is it's all diminishing returns. It's all. Does it really look? Does the PS5 actually look a million times better than the PS4?
No,
You
but the
know,
PS5 Pro does.
PS5 Pro, yes, does, right? But so does a
Um,
PC, which a
right.
lot more people are just going and buying PCs at this point.
Yeah.
And I
Not
think that's
anymore, but
also
yeah. The problem
PC
with
is
PC. Mhm.
well, PC is where we're seeing growth more than the consoles, right?
Yeah, but PC is
Because
also where you expect to spend $2,000 on a video card.
right, but the thing that's cool with PC is that once you spend the whatever it is you're going to spend, you can play those games for a while, and then it gets to a certain point where there's a certain category you won't be able to play the most brand new amazing games after a while, but
Right.
you'll be able to play a certain level of game for as long as you own that PC. And until you upgrade, then whatever. But
Yeah.
it's and also that's where a lot of the highest number of sales happen on PC, right?
Yep.
And people are starting to kind of become cognizant of that. Especially not Nintendo that never, if they do sales, it's all third party. You might have one first party game in the entire lineup of a sale. And the
Right.
only time that they do a sale, which they consider a sale, is like $15 off on Black Friday, and that's it. Right.
Yep.
So like my original, I guess, idea with this is that I do think Shuhei is right in an instance in that, yes, this is very unlike Nintendo. Just do the next thing, promote how powerful it is, talk about how it does 120 FPS and 60. They still
Right.
didn't go full bore with it, right? They still said, okay, if somebody wants to hear about the specs of the console, we're not talking about it. You can go over to Nvidia or whatever. We may not know at all from Nintendo ever about those specs. That's going to come when people actually get the hardware and break it down and
Right.
all that kind of stuff, whatever. And we'll find out what kind of chip it has and what it does and all that stuff and Digital Foundry, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I kind of understand that, but I do think that they are trying something with the mouse controls. Let's see if that ever pans out. It could just be like that HD Rumble where it was like nothing, who cares, right? And they did do some innovative stuff like Ring Fit. Labo didn't catch on like they wanted to. And this is just the launch of the console, right? They could have some other stuff planned out that we don't know about yet, to do with the mouse controls or with something else. I
So
just, yeah,
go on.
I don't know. I just think that they're kind of like stuck in a situation where they had to do Switch 2. Like,
So my VR thing, my VR idea, they should release that headset thing I was talking about and call it the Virtual Boy 2.
except have colors this time,
Yeah.
not like red and black. And,
Exactly.
you're seeing just that the whole time.
When I was a kid, not at the same time, mind you, but when I was a kid, I had two different Virtual Boys.
I had an uncle that had one. I played Mario Tennis on it, I think, and that's the only
Yep.
thing I remember playing on that.
I had like Mario Tennis and then Red Alert, and that was it.
Okay. Yep. And I remember going, okay, this is cool. I don't want to have my face shoved in this thing constantly. And then I stopped playing it.
I used mine while laying down, and that actually worked really well.
That's how I played it too, was laying down.
Yeah, but like sitting at your desk or sitting, no.
No, sitting down did not work. I had to have it like on the floor, laying down on my belly and playing that way.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, what is anybody watching or listening later? What do y'all think? Do you think Nintendo had no choice? They couldn't innovate this time? Is Shuhei right? Like,
they're a victim of their own success, but also I think them just going like, here's another Switch and it has 30% more processing power or 80% or whatever, and games that came out 5 years ago can run this thing now. It's like, cool. What else you got? Like, yeah, I know here's the thing. I know if you get a Switch 2, I can 100% guarantee you're gonna get Final Fantasy 7 integrated for it. I 1000%
No,
know
no,
that.
no, 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 no. I'm not. I'm not, because
Mhm.
as much as I would love to play like a remake and rebirth, which I probably will play them before once we know when part 3's coming. I'm not
Right.
spending $70 on a game. See, here's the problem. Here's the problem with Switch 2 and knowing the games are going to be full price at launch, and they're probably not going to come down for a while, is I'm not paying full price for a game that you can find for like
For 20.
what, 40 or $20 or
Yeah.
less on PS5 right now. Like, I'm not doing that. Games cost too much money right now for me to do that. I'm not doing that anymore. It was
Right.
one thing to buy a $20 version of Final Fantasy 7 again on multiple consoles or whatever. I'm not doing that for a $60, $70 game. Like,
If you save that money, you would have more money for the Switch too.
that was a long time ago. That would have been spent on something else. What are you talking about? But no, honestly, I do think that like my issue with Nintendo is more about losing personality, not
Yeah.
so much. It's they feel very corporate now, and Doug Bowser emphasizes that. That's why I have him in the picture of the thumbnail. Very much emphasizes like, we are very corporate now. This is what we do. We decide the price. We talk about this, talk about that. We don't have that personality anymore of just like that you lost with Iwata and Reggie, unfortunately.
Time to clean up Reggie and get him back in the saddle.
It sucks. It's like even Reggie talking about, like, I was watching that Playing with Power documentary that's on Amazon. That goes through the whole history of Nintendo, and they actually do a really good job of talking about like how Sega and Sony as well,
Right.
when they were competing with them, and Reggie's on there, and like I was like, man, I miss him talking about Nintendo. Like, I miss the way he does it, the way he can make you, dude. Like, even when he's like super serious talking about Wii U, and like you could tell that like he doesn't have a lot to go on here. It's still, yeah.
I don't think Reggie was like ever a quote unquote gamer, but the same way I don't think like Sean Layden was either from Sony, but like they can make you believe in their product, and the people they have now on pretty much all sides don't do that. For
Yeah, they don't.
Nintendo doesn't have they have Doug Bowser, but he sucks. I mean, he's just
Like, Doug Bowser is
businessman.
great to go talk to CNN and CNBC and all that stuff, right? Talk to the business people, but he's not great to talk to the gamers. This is why he normally doesn't. He doesn't come out there, and he's not on the Nintendo Directs, right? It's all done with the Japanese.
Same reason why, like, that one Direct, I think, that Nintendo did like a decade ago with the Muppets.
Yeah,
like that was such a like fun and funny thing that they did. Reggie,
Iwata and Miyamoto, like,
yeah, and like two of those guys are gone, and the other guy, I mean, he's not retired, but he's so like way up the echelon that
he's just got his mind on other things, right? He's doing the other parts of Nintendo. He's doing the Nintendo World. He's doing the Mario movie. He's doing the Mario 2 movie. He's doing all the other stuff, right? The Nintendo app, the Nintendo, whatever Nintendo thing. He's not developing anymore. So it's
right. I mean,
the fact that like
Nintendo doesn't want people to like know who's making their games is like weird, like extra weird.
Yeah, that's also very weird, right? It's like, yeah, it's just kind of sad to see that a little bit. And that's the part that is an issue with me, as far as they definitely do want to see more grown up. It feels like with this iteration of the Switch, right? They want to appeal to the hardcore gamer. Obviously, still have things for kids, right? But and families. Obviously, the game chat thing is also them trying to, say that you can do that with your family and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, it does feel like some of that identity is lost. We are now just another one of these consoles, but it's handheld. It will be very interesting what happens if Xbox, Sony come out with their systems and and a part of them is also essentially a Switch.
Yeah.
But it's got Sony branding or Xbox branding on it. Will that force Nintendo to once again have to feel like, okay, we've done all we can here. Let's move on to something else.
Right.
I do wonder if there's going to be always some version of the Switch because they have to have that handheld part because they are Nintendo and they have to have the Game Boy. Essentially, something part of that, right? Maybe the Switch then becomes the Switch will be able to play those games, but if you want to play the best version, it's whatever this other thing is, right?
That's what they should have called the Switch one. Instead of calling it the Switch, they should have called it like the Game Boy 6. And they could have the Game Boy 7 with the Switch 2.
Right? Just start calling it with
And they could say, like, you think PS5 is advanced, check out the Game Boy 9.
Yeah. They could have called it the Switch Advanced, right?
Right.
That's just all right, but that's enough of that. You guys leave what you think in your comments, whether you defend Nintendo on that. Also, I think the variable pricing thing is also very corporate from them also. But all right, so another big thing that happened in the week previously is Respawn and BitReactor got to reveal during the Star Wars celebration that Zero Company, the Star Wars strategy game, which is set to release in 2026 for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. I wonder if that will come to Switch 2 at some point. What did you think? They showed off a 2-minute trailer, and then they had a panel that was done by Lucy James from GameSpot. She was emceeing it, and they had various people from various parts of somebody from Respawn, a couple people from BitReactor, and then some folks from somebody from EA and also from Lucasfilm. Right? What do you think from what we saw?
I didn't watch the panel, but I did watch the trailer and like one or two of the news stories about it. The game itself looks fine. It looks like Star Wars XCOM. With like a slightly more actiony bent to it, but you can still recognize like a lot of the XCOM shit in it. My problem is I don't give a fuck about the Clone Wars. And more to the point, I'm really tired of Star Wars being in this very narrow 70-year period. And I know the Acolyte was like 100 years before Star Wars, but like from episode 1 to episode 9, it's like 70 years, and everything takes place in that 70-year period. And I'm tired of it. I want them to move the hell forward. And I know that stupid Ryan Gosling movie is supposed to be like, oh, it's a few months later after episode 9. It's like, how about like 10 years later? Or, 100? Like, why are we so tied to this?
Because they want to do episode 10 and do whatever right after what happened there, even though they said they're not done with they're done with the Skywalkers or whatever. Yeah, they're not gonna be done.
Yeah, that's my point. It's like, yo, you think Darth Vader's gonna show up in this thing? My Magic 8 Ball says yes, because he shows up in everything,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just there have been long debates about like which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars. And you can debate the quality, but like from a moving forward, the fiction forward aspect, it's clearly Star Trek, because Star Wars is still mired in the 70s,
Yeah, I mean the TV shows have been good to do things and move things forward.
I hear, I like Mandalorian because it's very it at least attempted, at least the first season, to be like not part of Star Wars at all. and they've only been roping in like Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka and all that crap into it like later on. But like, and I've heard Andor's fine, but like, it's still a prequel of a prequel that I don't care about in the first place. So I know
Yeah,
how this ends.
right. Fair enough. To be fair, it's a standalone story of it's set in some deep thing within the Clone Wars.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
It's just I just think Star Wars is just so limiting, and it's like they could be telling so many cool and unique stories. Like I still think the best Star Wars thing from like a story perspective is still KOTOR, because that was like literally thousands of years before Star Wars, and it told
Yeah.
a familiar but wholly unique story. You didn't have Darth
Remember
Vader pops up in
when
the
they were
moment.
gonna do at one point they were gonna do older
KOTOR
Old
movie,
Republic movie, yeah.
yeah, and then
And that
like
died.
all Star Wars movies, it fell apart because that's of course that's what happened.
It's like they're so scared to do anything that they might possibly do a movie about at some
Yeah,
point,
that's
right? It's like,
them going like, oh, the Ryan Gosling movie takes place a few months later after Episode 9. It's like, no, make it like 100 years later, and then think about how much of the future you can mine from that, as opposed to our game takes place in 17 BBY, and the sequel takes place in 16 BBY. We're gonna catch up to the Battle of Yavin eventually, sure. So
right. But
hey,
the gameplay looked good.
yeah,
You know, you can fully customize your party with various different races of different Star Wars characters. They did have different Star Wars characters
I
in that trailer.
I just want to have like a Hut character and have him take off like half the battlefield.
Yeah, I could totally see this thing getting like DLC with different characters that's not in the game
You're not
eventually.
thinking enough. Not even different characters, it's different skins.
That too.
Like you can unlock,
Uh,
what's his name, Lando Calrissian.
yeah,
And
you can unlock
here he
Lando,
is
you
from
can unlock Anakin and Padme,
no, it'd be like
and
you can unlock Lando, but here he is from Solo, and then here he is old. Uh, you know,
yeah, man. Of course, it's EA, bro. They're gonna try
yeah,
to, they're
old
gonna try
Lando
to
from
do this all they
Empire,
can.
older Lando from Episode 9. So,
But no, I do think it's cool. Like, has there ever been a Star Wars Tactics game like that? I think they were talking about like this has not
they've
been
made
done before.
real-time strategy games, but not specifically tactics.
Okay.
So I think it's called like Empire at War. It was like an old PC game, but it was basically like StarCraft with Star Wars guys.
Right. So it's like, yeah, this is kind of it's cool that this exists, right? Like it's not something I would have thought Disney would sign off on. So because it's not a sexy game, right? This is not a sexy game. It's not a game that's like somebody sees the gameplay and goes, "Oh my god, I want to play that!" Like, right? The whole thing looks cool until you see the gameplay, and then it's like, "Oh, okay, this is a strategy
To be
game, all right."
to be fair, I can't imagine this being like a lot of money, because you
Yeah,
can probably reuse a bunch of assets for maps and stuff. And also, their last two sexy games, which would be Jedi Fallen Order 2 and Star Wars Outlaws, didn't exactly sell that
to
well.
be fair,
So,
Outlaws is not EA, but yes,
I mean, from a Disney perspective,
from
though,
that, yeah, okay. Um, Jedi Survivor 2 did well enough that they greenlit Survivor 3, so I guess
okay,
that's something. But
yeah,
it probably didn't sell well enough that they felt like they had to go back and make the old console
right.
versions or whatever. Yeah, like I could see this if you really like these kind of games. I could see this being a thing. A lot of people like that. I don't remember what the name of it is. That Marvel one, right? They didn't get.
Midnight Suns.
Yeah, that came out
But
like a terrible time, and
that was like not a tactics game because it had like that weird deck building crap in it.
yeah, the deck building, yeah. But I mean, it's still like Firaxis, right, doing it. Or you had
Right.
those devs, so you had it's kind of similar to this. You have people that have experience with different things, doing this game. They seem to really they talked a million times in that panel about how they're all Star Wars fans and they all I want to see this succeed and do well. We'll see. They got a whole year. It's sometime 2026. Doesn't even have a whole a time frame, so we'll see when it comes out. People are still waiting on if we're going to hear anything about the KOTOR remake or some other, a few other games that they're in the pipeline as far as Star Wars goes. So, but cool that we got to see this at least.
Yep.
But all right, few more things, just really quick, since we're talking about the galaxy far, far away. Might as well talk about Galaxy's showcase here. Look, it's a new. I don't know if they're a company, like a new publishing partner or what they are doing it, but this was brand new for this year. It's not, like some of the other ones that have done it in the past. So it was kind of interesting when I saw this. I was like, is this a video game showcase or what is this supposed to be? So kind of the big there. This is all indies, by the way. It's not any like big third party publisher in here. But so some of the bigger things that they had in here, Konami was in here publishing a remaster, or I don't know what this is, or like a new version of Lily's World XD, which was like a 90s style, like early web detective game with like all of the like 90s looking PC web surfing stuff in it. So that looked kind of interesting.
Great.
Claire Obscure had a new trailer. Painkiller had a new game from Saber Knife in 3D Realms, which is just like absolutely just dooming it up with different weapons and stuff, which looked cool. Power Wash Simulator 2 got a trailer with the devs talking about different new stuff that's going to be in the game. There's a Demon School got a new trailer as well. There's a SWAT game that's going to be only on PS5 and Xbox Series called Ready or Not. It comes out next year. That looked really cool as well. An awesome game that comes out May 22nd called Deliver at All Costs, which literally just had people that are like delivery drivers with different like old cars like crashing into each other at different points. I was like, okay, I was definitely missing a game like this where you're just crashing into shit. There's a Neon Abyss 2 that got a trailer. There's this cool game. I don't know if it's been shown before, so I apologize if it's been shown before. I did not watch that whole. I'm sorry, but like I love the mix showcase. Now they kind of do it with kind of funny and stuff. But Jesus, I can't with like the 3-hour showcase thing. Like it's something you have to like watch little by little, and it's after like the first 30 minutes, and I find out it's like 3 hours. I can't. It's too much. But there's this game. It's called Unbeatable, and essentially it's like looks like an anime. It's a side-scrolling game with rhythm beat-up gameplay and an original soundtrack, and essentially like the music is illegal, so you're doing crimes because you're trying to, I guess, legalize the music. And then when you get into battles, it's like all done with like rhythm-based gameplay, and it looked awesome. So, yeah. They did show the FBC Firebreak in here. It had a cool trailer in there, and then this is where they announced the live stream that's happening on the 24th. The game that I mentioned is called Vector Strike, which is essentially, it looks exactly like Rocket League, but they do handball, and like there's some like robotic arms or whatever that have like powers that are pushing the ball into the net, but it still looks better than whatever that thing was, the wheelchair game that's on Switch.
Right.
And then also you got Slowcap doing Rematch, which is essentially soccer doing Rocket League, which looks better than both games. So, that's what I'm saying. Like that wheelchair basketball thing is not great. There's a pixel art fishing mini game or fishing RPG called Nice Day for Fishing that looked cool in this. I was like, literally, they'll come up with anything. They showed another trailer for that Spine Gung Fu game that looked neat that they've shown at other showcases as well. There's a hacking game that kind of looks like Hotline Miami, but you're hacking the kills instead. It's called Deadwire. That comes out, and then the game they did the one more thing with was the new game from Legion Studios, which has like X Doom and COD devs, called Covenant, and it's in first person, and it kind of looks like not medieval, but like dark fantasy, I guess.
Right.
With different weapons and stuff, not just guns. So, yeah, some neat stuff in there. It's only an hour, also. So if you're like one of those that likes to watch these things, it's kind of worth checking out. There's other games that I didn't mention, but you can go check those out on one of those.
Yeah.
Um.
I never even heard of the show until you mentioned it. So.
Yeah, they did it on Thursday, and it was kind of like, what? Okay, this is a thing. Cool.
Yeah.
Just to get into Xbox for a little bit here. They did announce what's coming to Game Pass, which I didn't mention that I did play Tempopo for a little bit, but if you like puzzle games, and okay, so think about it like Captain Toad. If Captain Toad was a puzzle game, because essentially it's like you have to use there's like it gives you a certain number of squares that you have to figure out what goes in each square so that the little pink puffball thing won't fall down. It will go through and complete the level for you.
Yeah.
So you're like constructing the puzzle because you're the conductor. The little girl is the conductor. You're essentially conducting the music so the little tempopo things can go and complete the puzzle. I played like 15 levels of that thing. It's pretty good for a Game Pass game. Like if you like puzzle games, it's not Blueprints or whatever. That's the whole other side of the spectrum.
Right.
But it's pretty good. That's been out there. Also, again, Clair Obscur comes out on the 24th. Got Towerborn, which I'm kind of excited to try that out. Comes on the 29th on Game Pass as well, Game Pass Ultimate. And then you get Far Cry 4, which they had Far Cry 5 last month. So I guess Ubisoft is just like starting to unload old games into it. Anno 1800 comes out on May 1st. The first drop of an old Call of Duty game. Well, I guess Modern Warfare 3 was the first one. Modern Warfare 2 is now coming to Game Pass on May 1st. And then Dredge comes on May 6th. And definitely check out Dredge. If you've not played that game, go play that. It's awesome. It's survival horror fishing, and you will get addicted. So go play that. And then also just a shout out to some of the stuff leaving. Thirsty Suitors is leaving. Sniper Elite 5, which they have the new DLC or the new game on there, so you don't necessarily need Sniper Elite 5. Right. Have a Nice Death, which I reviewed, and it's a decent one of those roguelikes is leaving also. I meant to mention this when you were talking about Indiana Jones, but Phil Spencer has officially said they do see life in Indiana Jones as a gaming franchise. He mentions that beyond Xbox and PC, it amassed over 4 million players at one point. It's now just released for PS5. You're playing it. I'm sure there's other people playing it. Disney has supposedly talked about greenlighting a second game. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
You're liking it. You've gotten through 3 worlds. So, that's a positive for them. Did you see that they
based it on young I was going to just say based on young Indiana Jones instead, though.
Yeah, there you go. Did you see that they finally, after all this stuff, feels like every week we've been talking about the Oblivion remake, Bethesda is now going to have their own like announcement stream,
right?
Tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this. I wonder if it's going to shadow drop now after Everybody thought it was going to shadow drop today. So
They should
now
shadow
it's
drop, but the entire presentation should be like, oh, we're remaking Morrowind instead, the better game.
it's not, sadly. It will be that. Got to deal with it. Also, Rebellion is happy with getting 2 million players for Atomfall, which I still need to go
I've heard that's
back
decent.
and play that.
Yeah.
But hey, that's cool. People being positive about Game Pass when they put their game in it. So
right.
That's a great thing. And the Minecraft movie, once again, doing great as far as box office goes.
Yeah.
Had over 500 million now in 9 days, or 520 million, something like that. So yeah. I was watching a thing with the Game Kitchen guys, which they're doing the movie for Claire. Claire Obscure is also getting a movie, and they haven't even released the game. But Game Kitchen talked about how they will not do an adaptation if the original devs are not involved. And I thought that's great to hear.
Speaking of that, did you hear the other hot video game movie news today?
No, I did not.
And this is a good one. Michael Bay and Sydney Sweeney are teaming up to make a Outrun video game movie.
I mean, what lore is there in Outrun aside from you race cars? Like that's one that's like, do we really need to have the essence of Outrun?
Yes.
You know?
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like she'll star in it. She's just like producing it or something. But
okay.
Speaking of other video game movies, do you know that Until Dawn movie's hitting this week?
What?
And
no,
you haven't heard a damn thing about it.
No, exactly. The only thing I saw was like YouTube asked me if I would go watch that movie. And
release date April 25th, 2025.
Okay, that thing is gonna.
And there's been absolutely zero promotion or press about it at all. So it's
I bet Minecraft movie will still outdo that movie.
By no man, Until Dawn's gonna break it. You're just not thinking, high enough. It's gonna be the first $1 trillion movie.
It will definitely probably get people to go buy that Until Dawn remaster, and that's probably about it. All that's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, they have been like, they shown like no. I think they released a trailer and everyone didn't like it like a few months ago, and that's been it.
It's just the thing is the games are already so much like a movie. It's like, what are you gonna do with this? Like I don't know. It's just okay, I guess. I just don't see the point.
The last trailer was 2 months ago. That's not great.
No, it's not.
A movie that's coming out in 4 days.
Yeah, definitely not.
I want to bring that up.
Yeah, but all right. Just getting through a couple of things really quick. Sony has raised the price of PS Plus in Canada.
Yep.
I'm sorry for our Canadian brethren there.
England and Australia and a whole bunch of other places.
Well, that was a PS5. They've also raised the price of PS Plus as well, and it's just like crazy, man. So this is the second time the Canadian players have seen the PS Plus rise.
Yeah.
So now, you're gonna have to pay 190 Canadian dollars to get a whole year's worth of just PS Plus Extra. It's $224.99 if you want to get premium for 12 months, and then $109.99 if you want to get just the essential to have online play and get the free games.
Right.
So, yeesh. I don't know if that means that the monthly price goes up, but yeah, that sucks for everybody that buys it yearly, for sure.
Cards now.
Yeah, for sure. And stock them up now. Funcom is delaying Dune Awakening until June 10th. It was supposed to release May 20th. It is now going to release June 10th. You can still get it on June 5th if you do the early access, the Head Start access, or whatever the heck they call it.
Right.
This game's looked interesting every time I've seen it. I don't know that I'm gonna play it.
I
But
mean, how big into Dune are you?
not big.
Yeah.
So to be fair, I've always said I'm gonna read the book. It doesn't happen. I tried to watch the first movie. I was just like totally lost. I'm like, no.
Watch the old
Okay.
movie instead. That makes it way better.
Okay. Are you being serious or are you just joking?
Both.
Okay. So I've heard isn't there like is it on now or is it like coming later? There's like a show also for Dune
Yeah, an
going
HBO
on
Max
Max
show, I
or
think, but it's like a prequel.
yeah.
But I think it has an actress I like in it. But I don't care about Dune to take care.
Yeah. Also, Devolver Digital released their top 10 game franchises. Cult of the Lamb, probably no surprise, is number one. It's made more than $90 million. Astroneer is number two at 80 million, and then Serious Sam or Stronghold is number three, and then Serious Sam. Of course, Stronghold and Serious Sam have 9 and 11 games between them. It's
Right.
pretty amazing that Cult of the Lamb and Astroneer, who only have like Astroneer's getting their second game pretty soon.
Maybe.
Or is it like a DLC or something? You know,
and
Cult of the Lamb.
too.
Yeah, Cult of the Lamb. Well, no, Astroneer is getting that sequel that comes out this year. Enter the Gungeon 2 is also getting a sequel.
Sure.
Which, you know, Gungeon was in there. And then, you know, Talos Principle also has the sequel. And they just got that remaster that came out last week as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's done well for them. So, you know, Devolver, say what you will, some people say they're not an indie publisher anymore. I saw a lot of that today when they released this thing, but they said that their focus is on, you know, established franchises now. So they may not, you may not see them go after like doing a lot of new stuff. So a lot more established things, like, you know, that's why we get into the Gungeon 2 and Monster Train 2 and Astroneer Expeditions, but they're still doing new stuff like Skate Story and Baby Steps and Four Strike. So, you know,
yeah, you make sequels to the established franchises to generate money to experiment with new franchises. This ain't hard.
Yeah. So I mean, credit to them for still being around and helping out indies and doing things. You know,
Yeah.
Always enjoyed Devolver and their stuff. They make they publish great games. So, and they know how to pick. They know how to see stars for sure. They pick them. They do a good job of picking the ones that they know will. A lot of indie darlings end up coming from Devolver. So,
sure.
But all right, I think that's gonna do it for the episode today. We will do the usual ending at how we normally end the show with the games that are coming out this week. Obviously, I've talked about it, I think, like 4 times during this episode, but you know, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 comes out on the 24th. If you didn't know already, that will be a game that if you're not sitting there trying to pre-order your Switch 2, a lot of people are going to be going nuts with that game. I also got Fatal Fury City of the Wolves coming out that same day. Big for the you into the Fatal Fury?
No, that's another SNK franchise. I'm like, nope, not for me.
I wonder how much SNK paid to be on the ring mat of WrestleMania this weekend.
Well, it's all Saudi Arabia money, so probably not. I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
they're in bed with WWE.
I forgot about that. It is Saudi Arabia money. Steel Seed comes on the 22nd. That is going to be on PC, Xbox, and PS5. We got the whatchamacallit, Days Gone Remastered. It's coming out on the 25th, along with Forza Horizon 5 coming to PS5.
Yeah.
I think I don't own Days Gone, so I was gonna say it's gonna be the $10 remaster, but I don't think I own that.
I own it and still won't pay the $10.
I just
So
don't. That Command and Conquer spiritual successor game, Tempest Rising, comes out on PC on the 24th as well. 100 Line Last Defense Academy comes out on Switch and PC. This has gotten good reviews. It's like a visual novel with strategy game in it. Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade coming to everything also comes out on the 24th. It's like a anime, like action RPG kind of thing. Badlands Crew, which just looked kind of interesting. It comes out on PC. World of Goo comes out to PS5 on the 25th. Fragpunk finally comes to console after getting delayed the same day it was going to release, and has only been on PC. It finally comes to Xbox. Will be on Game Pass as well and on PS5. And MotoGP comes out on April 30th. If you've been waiting for MotoGP 25,
oh yeah,
there
That's when
you go. That's the
when
one.
they introduced the John Cena story mode and the tribal
Yeah,
ring, and it'd be all great.
That's what we're all waiting on there for sure. But all right, thank you everybody for joining us, or whether you watch live, listen later, watch later. We do appreciate you. Go and subscribe, like, follow, all that stuff. That helps out a lot. Check out the other stuff we have on the channel or the other shows, Radlich and Taco Cafe, and we'll see y'all later.
Later.